Welcome back once again to Coffee Corner Motorsport Four Beans the podcast. This is your weekly Formula One news show, Espresso News, where I bring you all of the latest from the paddock to the podcast via my shed, whilst of course grabbing a cup of coffee. Now, I have got loads in store for you this week. We're going to be talking about F1 75 and what myself and Dad got up to. We're going to be talking about Mercedes and Ineos sponsorship, Monaco pit stops, Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto once again. We're going to be talking about booing from the F1 Live and also swearing and the FIA. And we're also going to be talking about Lando and Oscar and McLaren's title hopes, as all of the bookies install McLaren in favour. But that's not all. I have got an exclusive offer with Williams Racing to also bring to you, hence why I'm rocking the new Williams merch. I'll be telling you all about how you get your hands on not only the latest merch, but a one-off offer from Atlassian Williams Racing. So keep tuned for all of the details on that special offer as well. Now, where do we kick off? There's only one place we can kick off, and that is, of course, O2 and Formula 1 75 Live. But before you get your coffee, before we go into the news, do me a favour, hit that like, hit that follow, subscribe button, whatever is available to you on the platform you're listening to this podcast on, and let's get right into it, because this is Formula 1 Espresso News. I'm Terry, and you're listening to Coffee Corner Motorsport Four Beans podcast. Let's go. Okay, there's only one place we can kick this off. F1 75, and just what did we get up to? Because that is what everybody's talking about. Whether you liked it or whether you hated it, either way, the F1 75 live launch has got everybody once again talking about Formula One. And you know what? That's what Formula One wanted, isn't it? They're not overly fussed whether or not you liked it or you didn't like it. They just wanted it to be the absolute talk of the town, and it most certainly is that one. Now, for those who don't know, Dad and I made our way down to London for 85. Now, these are tickets that were brought by my stepdaughter, Sophie, as part of the general sale. They weren't given to us in any way whatsoever. We did get invited to a couple of events beforehand in terms of partnership activations that were going on. So we went to Compound S's, which is a trainer manufacturer. Really cool idea, actually. So they make trainers out of recycled tyres, basically. So they take the tyres, they make them into marbles and basically turn them into little granules and then turn them into full-blown trainers, which looked amazing and really fascinating. They also do loads of fashion merch and, you know, jackets, T-shirts. And they had a Tolman Ayrton Senna car outside. I mean, it's worth going just for that alone. But seriously, we popped into there beforehand. Nice drinks, really good vibe, really great stuff. It's really good to see what some of these brands are doing around Formula One and to captivate a new audience, a new market. Really creative ideas. I love going to them. It's not my personal cup of tea in terms of buying merchandise and stuff like that. People know me, know that I tend to stick to official merch. That's just me. But that's taken absolutely nothing away from these trainers and their jackets and stuff. I just think that as someone who's now the wrong side of 40, I can't really rock those jackets that they've got on there, which is unfortunate. If you're younger, by all means, check them out. They were S's and they were Compound Motorsport as well. So go check them out on social media, see what they've got, because it's pretty amazing to see, you know, not only something from a sustainability point of view, but also something creative of what they've done with them. Then we went to my favourite activation ever. Everyone who knows me knows I've got a love of Lego. That Lego combined with Formula One, with the new range coming out, is just heaven. You know, every time you watch the podcast or see the videos, you'll see the two cars behind me. There is Lego at the back end of this shed, hence why I'm crammed in the corner down here filming podcast, because the rest of it is dedicated to my Lego collection. So we had an invite to go check out the Lego watch party. Now, this was a watch party put on by Lego for people who didn't have tickets as well. So if you didn't have tickets to the O2 and you're invited to it, you could actually watch along at this function that was at Taco Social in the O2. They had every range on show. So from the Duplo range right the way to the Lego City range, which is about your trucks and your pit garages, onto your Speed Champions, which of course has got all 10 teams featured, and then onto, of course, your big sets like the ones behind me on the wall here, which this year will be the Ferrari and, of course, the Red Bull. So yeah, they also had the Williams Icon Edition, which is the Nigel Mansell car as well. I always get a little bit disappointed when I see these because they're not the actual livery, because, of course, we got the tobacco licensing in place. So you haven't got the cannon, you haven't got the Labatt's on the car. So whilst they're amazing, they look great, I always kind of have a tinge of, do you know what, I want to see like the Marlboro Red on the Senna one, which obviously we haven't got. And I want to see, the camel on the Williams, which of course we can't have due to all of the restrictions to go with it, which is always a bit of a tinge on that one. However, in terms of models, they look absolutely amazing. For those who don't know, the Duplo and the Lego City sets are already available. And for all of the other sets, which are the Icons Williams sets, and of course the Speed Champions and the 2 Technic sets that are also going to be available, they go on general sale for the 1st of March, but they are now available to pre-order on most stockists with Lego, but certainly on lego.com. So if you haven't already, check them out. You can order them ready for delivery at the beginning of March. Some are already selling out. Hugely popular. Lego and Formula One, a bit like the Hot Wheels collaboration, is big news, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. Me personally, I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on these sets and build them. So I've got some of the Technic sets, certainly got the Icon set come in, because that will go nicely with my Senna one. Like I say, for me, I think they're just great. I mean, as a Lego fan, what more could you want? Definitely my activation for the year in terms of stuff going on. I know Dad enjoys it too. Dad's a bit of a Lego fan as well, so he certainly enjoyed going in there. And it was really good, really well laid out. Crofty was in there. You got to have some pictures taken as well. And like I say, you got to see all the models on display. So that was pretty cool. And then it was on to F1 75 itself in the O2. Lots of mixed bags about this event. Lots of talk about whether or not it was a success or not. I do think there is a distinct difference between watching it at home and watching it in person. I'm intrigued to know people's thoughts on this. And it's a genuine, was it a different vibe being at home watching it? And was it a different vibe being actually in the arena watching it? And that's not a, look at me, I've got a ticket, far from it. A lot of the complaints I'm hearing are from home viewers. And I genuinely want to know whether that's because the atmosphere didn't transpire through, whether or not it was the way the coverage was done. I've genuinely not watched it back on TV at all. I've not had a chance to watch it yet. It's been pretty much a non-stop couple of days, so I don't know how it came across on the TV. I know there was a slight delay on it. It was very fast-paced, which you kind of expect from Formula One, let's be honest about it. And it was interesting to see all the teams do the different bits. So for those who don't know the gist of it, each team had their 7-minute slot to do pretty much what they wanted. So it was up to the teams how they presented themselves on that catwalk that Formula One has set up. So it wasn't a mandatory, this is what you're going to do. It was a, this is what you've got available to you, and you've got 7 minutes to do whatever you wish to do it. Some did it rather well, some did it rather poorly. Let's be honest about it. Alpine, I'm afraid, as much as I like your livery, I'm looking at you for that DJ who just went on and on and on. And it's probably still going now, if I'm honest. Obviously, we arrived at the O2, had a couple of drinks, met out with some people. It was great to meet some people for the first time. Ashley, who I've been talking to for like 3 years now. Every time we've gone to meet, our kind of paths just haven't crossed and we haven't managed to pull it off yet. There's been events. Henry, the Haas chap, looked absolutely amazing in his race suit, but I still haven't met Henry, which is on my bucket list for 2025. We keep missing each other. It's something which, even though we talk online loads, and he's a great supporter of the channel and I absolutely love him to bits, but I haven't been able to meet him in person, and that's definitely on my 2025 bucket list, that's for sure. But in terms of, Connor was there again, which is always great to meet up with Connor. And it's just great for people to come up and stop and say hi. And I always welcome it. I love it. It's one of the things I love about doing the page. In terms of the page, just a little side note on this one. I have got a special podcast coming up. It is a one-off. It is a bit personal to me, I should say. It's not something I've done before. It will be in addition to the weekly news show. So don't panic. You'll still get your weekly news show next week. But next week is going to be a special one-off about how Coffee Corner Motorsport was pretty much came to life. And a bit about the history of what I do, how I do it, and also a bit personal, so a bit about the family and the reasons why I do some stuff. So I thought it's really important to share the story about behind all of this, because we don't always get to see it on social media, a lot of preconceived ideas that people have, and I just wanted to share a bit of that. So there is a special one-off coffee chat edition coming in the next week or two. I'll tell you when it's dropped up, in addition to the weekly news shows, where I'm just going to go into probably something a bit more personal for me, which is I'm not 100% comfortable with it, I ain't going to lie, but I also think it's really important to share it in terms of what people see, what people hear, what people think. Maybe it will just give people some inspiration to actually just take a gamble and do something they really enjoy doing like I do. Yeah, back to F1 75. So after we had our safety briefing, we got our harnesses, our hard hat, started the climb up to the ceiling. Oh, no, sorry, we just went to our seats, but it felt like we were doing the O2 stair climb. And they were... it's bad when your ticket says to you, if you're scared of heights, don't have this ticket. It's bad and you're high up. So we made our way up to the top. And you know what? It wasn't bad, actually. You got to see the whole stage, which is a bonus. In terms of footage, once you zoomed in 900 times on your iPhone and on your handheld camera, it wasn't too bad. You could still see it. We weren't so high that the sort of lighting gantry got in the way. I know people above us couldn't see because of the lighting gantry, which was disappointing. It was okay for us. You could still see it. The way they did the screens was quite good. It dropped down. The only thing I would have really loved to have done, which is a bit of feedback to Formula One, when you show the car, pull it on the big screen. Do you know how hard it is to see what a car livery looks like from way up at the top of the O2? You can't do it. There's no way of seeing. Biggest success story has to go to Haas, I'm afraid, who dropped the absolute classic of not only running their livery early at Silverstone, even though they were supposed to not run it at all. So apologies to my followers for misleading you on that one. I generally thought they were throwing a double bluff, but they weren't. They were just silly and released it early. And not only that, they then emailed pictures of their livery out before their actual unveiling on stage. I'm sat there, my phone goes off, opens up the email. There it is. MoneyGram Haas, Formula One team, your new livery. And I'm thinking, they're next. What's going on here? And bear in mind, we're live, so we're not even on demand. So if you're at home, you're going to get that even earlier. I'm like, really? Did that really just happen? So as much as I think Haas have made some great inroads in terms of performance on track, their kind of handling of their livery launch leaves a lot to be desired for this time round. However, they are a team that in the past have traditionally just dropped the livery. So, do you know what? Their video was good and it wasn't too bad. But Haas, come on, just play the game bit on that one. In terms of livery itself, there were some hits, there were some misses. There were some ones where quite clearly, you know, if you want to be a designer in Formula One, you just need to learn how to copy and paste with some of these designs. Red Bull's kind of like a running joke now, isn't it? We all joke about Red Bull teasing us with a livery change and then never does. So that's kind of a running joke. It was when McLaren stood there and went, we're going to pay homage to our Constructor Championship car by unveiling the same championship winning livery. I mean, come on. There's so many iconic McLaren liveries that we can have. Yes, I understand the need to want to stick to papaya and your identity, but come on. You've just literally just changed a few sponsors on it. We've just put the MasterCard logo a bit more prominent, took that Coca-Cola logo off and put Monster Energy on. Alpine, it was good to see the pink back on the Alpine. The Ferrari is kind of divided opinion with the white on it. I don't mind it. I think it's better than just putting the HP logo on there. The HP logo is always going to be blue. We've talked about this on the podcast. You spend 100 million a year on your logo going on a car. You can have it how you want it. They want it blue. It was always going to be blue, so at least the white makes it stand out a bit. The Stake, their launch kicked off the night. I don't know whether it was a really good launch or whether or not it's because it was the first one of the night and whether or not it was just the excitement was building because it was number one. It was actually quite good live. I don't know how it came across on TV at home. And their livery looked good until I realised it looks like you've been Floviz testing, which is the paint you get obviously in pre-season testing, where they're checking aerodynamics and it splatters at the car. Now I've seen that, I can't unsee it, I'm afraid, Stake. So whilst it looks great in terms of the bright green that's obviously in its final year before they change to Audi, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's Floviz paint. Which will be really handy in pre-season testing because no one will know how well your car's performing because it will look like it's constantly being tested. So clever. I like that one, Sauber. I like that one. Williams, their livery, their reveal was great, by the way. That video, I really want to see that video online afterwards because that video was full of nostalgia, wasn't it? You know, seeing all of those iconic Williams racing and those iconic Williams moments got you really excited. James Vowles is great on stage. His selfie was just great. Reminds me of myself trying to take a selfie. Never going to go right, let's be honest about it. But Williams are cashing in on this newfound loyalty of fans with obviously Carlos signing. Carlos arriving has brought a new age to Williams, which I'm hoping they've got the car to perform. Like I say, the livery itself looks quite close to last year's, but a different kind of blue. Obviously got a new title sponsor in Elassian, which is now Elassian Williams Racing. Really exciting times for Williams ahead. They're obviously delving into this new age of Formula One fans. They're really great with their activations, their pop-ups, their badges, their social media, all of their stuff. You know, reaching out to creators like myself to do competition or, more importantly, not necessarily competition, but the offer that I'm going to bring in later. So it's really great to see Williams interacting with people. And as a fan growing up watching Williams, win championships and winning races, I really want to see that again. It's a bit like Ferraris. There's iconic names, McLaren are up there, Williams are up there, Ferrari's up there. Do you know what I mean? They're just teams you just can't help but glance down at the standings to see what they're doing and how they're doing, and are they making strides forwards? And I think anyone who's a Formula One fan wants to see Williams return to some sort of winning ways again. It's been far too long. One of the most successful teams in Formula One history. A rich heritage which is trying to be preserved with the new ownership in place, but also trying to keep that family feel. So I'm all here for Williams. I can't wait to see what they're doing. Massive strides. Carlos is a great signing for him, and like I said, their launch was pretty good. Aston Martin with the 007 and the Singer was amazing. The car, there's not a lot you could do with that car, is there, in terms of delivery? Yes, it looks good. I'm not too sure about the white with the Madden on top. It kind of doesn't go. But again, a bit like the HP logo, if you're paying the sort of money that Madden now paying, you can have a white bit on top of there. Mercedes looked a bit bland. We're going to talk about Ineos as a separate subject because there's a lot going on with Mercedes. But their car, they kept that one team, one dream sort of strap line. I was surprised they kept that after Lewis. I thought it was kind of a Lewis thing, but it seems to be a Mercedes thing. I was expecting more of a WhatsApp influence, if I'm being honest, from what we've seen with that partnership last year. And it kind of didn't quite work for me. The pit stop being botched by the pit stop operator on the front left, I think it was, or the front right. Yeah, front right didn't really help in terms of, messing up a pit stop on the biggest stage of all. But yeah, that's a moment they're going to want to forget, which has been captured in 4K and slowed down. We then, of course, had... who have we missed? We've done Haas, we've done that. I'm trying to think who else we've missed. See, that's how memorable they are, because if you can't remember them, they weren't that good, were they? Like I say, Alpine had a DJ that just went on and on and on and on. Still going now. He's still there, going. You're like, get to the car, get to the car, get to the car. We got to talk about Red Bull, haven't we? Come on. How can we not talk about Red Bull? We're going to touch into a bit of booing and swearing. I completely lost my chain of thought then, so if you're listening at home, I apologise for that one. But booing and swearing and all of that in general. So the FIA obviously got a very lukewarm, mild reception, is probably the best way to describe it, from the fans. Christian Horner got the same sort of reaction. Now, I understand the public's frustration with Christian Horner and what went on last year with the allegations. And in general, what I don't like is I don't like the booing that ruins events for other people. I don't get it. I'm not a fan of it. It's not something I condone. It's very thuggish, if that's the word for it. It reminds me of like stuff that used to happen at football matches. I understand it happens, but when you're at an event like that, it kind of ruins it for the people who actually want to hear from the people who were there. Now, that 7 minutes that Red Bull had, they clearly had a very long video. It was clearly designed so that there was minimal interaction from the drivers, probably because they knew this was going to happen from Max. It might be in part because Max doesn't want to speak too much to the media after what went on last year in terms of the FIA and swearing and bits like that. Christian's reception just took the shine off it for me, because ultimately, yes, you may not agree with Christian or like him as a person. For me, there has to be a level of professional respect for what they've achieved within the sport itself. And I keep saying, if people keep saying, I don't like Max, I don't like Christian, my answer is we don't know these people as individuals. We only know what's being portrayed on social media. We've seen programs, Drive to Survive, where rivalries are kind of edited to make it look more intense than what it actually is. That isn't what actually goes on. We've got to be really careful that we don't step across this line, because ultimately what we're seeing is what people allow us to see, and also what, social media clips want us to do, what even, up to Formula One themselves, including this, they want to build engagement. And sometimes the best way to build that engagement is to create controversy. And that's why things are taken into context, they're edited, they're clipped, these rivalries made to look out, especially when it's boring on track, because ultimately that's a way to engage fans and keep them occupied. I don't agree with it personally, but it does happen. It's a factor of modern day social media. We've got fan edits that obviously make it that way. We've got press conference edits. All these things happen, which create this persona, which isn't kind of true. So whilst you may have a opinion of a driver, team principal, team, that doesn't mean that you should take away all the hard work that goes into getting those cars on track, all of the hard work that the team puts into it, all of the hard work that the drivers put into it to actually drive that car. I said on my video, I was disappointed not to hear from Max Verstappen. He's the 4 times world champion. He's current world champion. I think if Formula One hosts an event, we should be able to hear from and speak to the current Formula One world champion, despite what you may think of him personally, he deserves that level of respect to be able to be spoken to. I think Red Bull, as the constructor champions that they are over the past few years, deserve that respect to actually have their 7 minutes on stage without getting booed. So I certainly wasn't one of the people booing. I don't condone it at all. I'm not here for it. I don't like it. And I think that we just deserve to show people a bit more respect for what they've achieved in the sport, whether or not we like them personally or whether or not we agree with what they do personally. Ultimately, that's for the teams to decide. It's also for the companies they work for to decide if they're happy to have these people employed with what those allegations and stuff were. We don't know the details of what happened with Christian, and I'm not for 1 minute, by the way, condoning what he did or allegedly did or saying that it's right. What I'm saying is we don't know those details. I would personally like to hear from a team principal at an event that's put on by Formula One and not have it ruined by people booing. So that's just a personal bit. The swearing's a bit of an interesting one. So Formula E obviously had swearing last week with Dan Tipton. He was quite vocal on his team radio about something happening. We had the swearing in rally and that actually got upheld by the FIA. Now, there seems to be a general consensus that if you're swearing on a team radio due to a collision or something that's happened, the FIA at the moment, and I mean at the moment, seem quite happy to let this slide. It seems to be after the race, which is what happened in the rally car, but it was still in the car, and also obviously what happened with Max in a press conference. So the FIA's stance on this seems to have softened a bit from what we first heard, which at the moment currently stands, if you are swearing in a media interview or a press conference or something like that, you'll get a potential ban and obviously the fine that goes with it. If it happens on the team radio, they seem to be letting that slide. That's what I said on the podcast the other week. I agree with that. A driver should be able to control themselves in a media interview, but it's a lot harder in a car when something happens. So if that is the common sense that's been applied by the FIA, I'm here for it. I welcome it. I really hope that is something that's going forward. Obviously, the Formula One teams will now look at what happened in Formula E and use that as a precedent, because ultimately it's an FIA-run sport, so they can use that in their defence for anything. So if a driver is caught out for swearing, I'm sure that the teams will point towards that one and do that one. But was it a success or not? Was Formula 175 a success or not? I honestly don't know. Ultimately, it will depend if Formula One made money. I'm sure they did. It was pretty full there. There was some empty seats. There was a lot of sponsorship activity there in terms of tickets being given out, in terms of brand partners giving away giveaways and bringing people in. So there was a lot of sponsorship deals, which is what a lot of us feared when the tickets sold out really quick. I have no number on that one. I couldn't tell you how many were part of that deal at all. Will it carry on? I hope it doesn't. In the sense of, I hope it doesn't happen every year, because the drivers clearly didn't want to be there. If you look at the drivers, they were doing media from like 10 a.m. Yes, they paid a lot of money. Yes, it's part of their job. But by the time you got to 10 p.m. at night, they were done. Clearly didn't want to be there. It's something they don't enjoy. Yeah, they were shepherded out to the media beforehand, then made to walk the red carpet. Then they had to do the whole sit down at the tables. Then they had to do the go on stage. Then they had to go back on stage at the end. It's clearly something they weren't comfortable with, nor did they enjoy. So I think as a one-off, it was okay, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I think Jack Whitehall was quite funny. There was some bits where he went OTC. The obsession with Charles Leclerc felt a bit too much. It kind of went 2 jokes too many. Yeah, it was funny the first time, funny the second time. About the fifth time, you were like, yeah, we get it. Move on. Excuse me. But actually, he made that roasting thing is a very, very American thing for the American viewers. They probably felt quite at home with that. It's not as common in the UK, but I found it okay. I found it quite funny. The fast pace, I enjoyed it. Did make the night flow really quick. The music acts, you could all have your own debate on that. I'm quite happy I got to see Take That live in concert without paying through the nose and going to Take That concert. But where's Robbie? Why is Take That now 3? I couldn't understand where the rest have gone. I thought it was 5 down to 4. It's now 3. Next year will just be Gary Barlow solo singing, I'm sure. But we got to see Take That, which is always a bonus. And like I say, the difference in all of the livery launches was good for me. I'd rather that than just Formula One say, here's a 7-minute video of what we're going to show for you. So some teams did it well, some teams didn't. I want to see it for things like I said on my live and also on one of my videos. If we do it for things like changing regulations, special occasions, absolutely. If we start doing it every year, then unless we're going to change the venue every year and go to different countries, and maybe that's an answer, but logistically makes it a bit of a nightmare for the teams. But if we're going to do that, maybe we should have it every year where actually we take it to a wider audience and go and visit different places. But if we're going to do a live launch in the UK every year, let's not do it all together, because I kind of miss the separate ones, if I'm honest. The good thing about the separate ones is it gave you a 2-week window of building up to it. it feels like we missed that this year. It feels like we kind of waited. Now we've all got in, and now we will take a step back while we wait for testing to start. And then, of course, we've got a little bit of a break before we go to Australia for the opening race. So it feels like a false start on the 2025 season Formula One. It doesn't feel like it's set up on that sense. Let's talk some other bits, because that's 25 minutes already. And you know me, I don't like talking for too long. So I don't personally listen to podcasts longer than sort of 40 minutes or so. So I like to try and keep mine to that one as well. So let's have a quick sip of coffee and let's talk Mercedes Ineos. Right, so Mercedes Ineos, lots to talk about Ineos not being prominent on the W16. Certainly on the top, that red roll bar bit's gone on the top. They were on the car, they were actually on the front nose and a bit on the side, and they are obviously on the new team kit. But Ineos are in financial trouble. They're being sued left, right and centre. Jim Radcliffe's being sued by Ben Ainsley, the sailor, and also by the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. So there is a element of money problems for Ineos. Now, Ineos are a little bit different to sponsors for Mercedes and other teams, because Ineos own 33%. So for those who may not be aware, Toto owns 33%. The Mercedes board in essence, own 33%, and then Ineos own the other 33%. So they are a part owner. For that, they will receive dividends, and they will also receive a cut of the profits that Formula One make. That's why at the moment they're still part of Mercedes, because ultimately they're receiving money for that. Now, as part of the deal up until the end of 2024, so the start of 2025, part of that deal was Ineos then reinvested that money back into the team in exchange for sponsorship, very prominently on the Mercedes car, hence the red part that was put on the top of the car over the previous years. That sponsorship ended at the end of 2024, and Ineos haven't negotiated a new deal with Mercedes. That's why you're seeing this very toned down Ineos on the livery. Yes, they're still a part owner to which they're receiving money for, but they haven't put the money back in. Therefore, they don't get the benefit of putting their logo all over the top of the car, a la HP style with Ferrari, as we discussed, because they're not paying 100 million or whatever it is. So therefore, you get a little spot in the car as a part owner. There's a lot of talk that they're going to be brought out. Now, Mercedes has been quick to deny this. They've been quick to say this week that this is rubbish. No smoke without fire. It is something that's concerning the board at Mercedes, I'm pretty sure. They don't want to be associated with someone who's having money worries and also someone who's being taken to court. It's bad for business. We know that Mercedes are all about brand Mercedes. We know that that's their strap line all the time. We've had that in the past with drivers. They're very corporate. They won't want to be associated with any of that. So one bad decision for, obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, then I'm sure that the board want to disassociate themselves from that. There's now a backlash from Manchester United fans over the ownership of Manchester United that the Ineos have got and what's happening there. That's going to concern Mercedes. So whilst at the moment they're denying it, I would not be surprised to see Ineos' 33% either consumed by both Mercedes and Toto, maybe to make it a 50-50 split, or indeed another partner being brought on board. Lots of strong partners within Mercedes still, even despite Lewis going. People like WhatsApp, I'm sure, would be very interested in taking that, especially with Formula One being as profitable for the teams as it currently is. But I also don't think that Ineos will want to relinquish that very easily, because of the fact that that's making them money at a time when they're hemorrhaging money. So they're going to be very, very reluctant to sell and going to be forced to do it. So yes, the public at the moment, the public line is very much Ineos are still owners of Mercedes Formula One team and are very much in it for the long term. I think behind the scenes, there is lots of negotiations going on about potentially getting rid of that Ineos stake in the team, which would then lead to it disappearing off the livery should that actually happen. But as it stands, it is on there. We're also going to let's talk Monaco pit stops quickly as well. So this is Formula One. The Formula One Commission have announced that we're going to have, or potentially going to have, an increase in Monaco pit stops to make the race more exciting. Excuse my French, but this is bullshit. If we're artificially affecting races, we need to look at where we're racing. I love Monaco for the heritage, for what it brings to Formula One. But if we've got to manipulate the race to make it an exciting race, we need to not race there. It's as simple as that. We can't be doing this. We can't be, because where does it stop? As soon as you do it for Monaco, the next race where it's shit racing, what we're going to do is we're going to artificially manipulate it. We can't do this. It's up to the teams to find a way. It's up to Formula One to find a way with the FIA within the regulations. Ultimately, we need smaller, lighter cars that are more nimble, that allow for overtaking, or unfortunately, we need to say Monaco served its time, but we need to go somewhere where we can actually race and where we can overtake. We can't do this. This is wrong. We're losing historic tracks like Spa to then go racing at Monaco on a long-term deal with a artificially race strategy to make the race more exciting. Come on. I mean, come on. Can we not just see how stupid this looks in the modern day world? Yeah, we can't lose racing tracks with heritage and go, we're going to carry on at Monaco, but we're going to make them take extra pit stops. As for tyres and Pirelli, sort your shit out with your tyres as well. Mini rant from me, make your tyres not last 50 laps. We don't want them to blow up. We don't want them to be dangerous. But we did have a time when you could use different strategies, different compounds to make the race more exciting. You should not be able to do Monaco on one set of tyres. You should not be able to do half the races you can on one set of tyres. There should be enough wear in the tyres to make it beneficial, to make a pit stop, to make it beneficial where you go, actually, we're gonna then make it so that we're gonna change our strategy. We're gonna hunt them down. Yeah, Mercedes did it in Barcelona a few years back. We know that Red Bull did it themselves back to Mercedes a few years after that, where actually we changed the strategy. We brought them in for a pit stop and made them hunt the teams down. We want to see that as fans. That's what we want. Not being forced to take an extra pit stop, not being forced to manipulate it that way. Bring us tyre wear that we can actually race on. And if you can't do that, get out of the sport. There's plenty of others you can take over and make the tyres, and we bring them on board. Or, do you know what? Let's have different tyre manufacturers. Let's have different manufacturers in Formula 1 once again, where the tyres will suit one manufacturer on one track, and then on the other track, we'll suit another team and spice it up a bit. That's the way to do it. Not do this thing where we've manipulated everything else and, look at it as a way where we go, let's do it that point of view. But do you know what? If we are going to do it, then, like I say, we just need to look at where we're racing and what we're going to do. And ultimately, let's go racing somewhere else and say goodbye to Monaco, because ultimately, if we can't race there, we shouldn't race there. There's enough tracks that can take its place. And that's not a slur on Monaco. I know what it brings to the sport. I know how valuable it is to the sport. I know exactly what it does for the sport. But do you know what? Can't race properly around there? Don't race. It's very simple. Or make the car so we can race. Plenty of other options. Jack Dewey and Franco Colapinto. So that's in the news once again. Jack, bless him, has had to face the media. And he got an absolute grilling on Franco Colapinto. I don't know why reporters think if you ask the same question 5 times, you'll get a different answer. When he says that, Franco's the reserve and that he's the driver, if you ask him that 5 different times, he's not going to suddenly turn around and go, actually, I'm under immense amount of pressure and, I believe that I'm going to lose my seat. It's a waste of a question, waste of a media accreditation. Stop doing it. We know he's under pressure. Obviously Alpine with their timing wasn't great, let's be honest. So whilst Jack Doohan is facing the press, answering questions about Franco Colapinto, Alpine decided to drop a press release that one of Franco's biggest sponsors, which is one of the Argentinian banks, are now on board with Alpine. What is that going to do to speculation? Again, a bit like the Haas thing. Come on. You're either doing it deliberately or you're just making rookie errors, which I don't know which one it is. Stop it. It's not fair on Jack. Jack deserves a decent crack of the whip. He deserves an opportunity, and he should get that. We talked about this before. I still think that Jack's on a limited time, no matter whether it's a 6 race one, a season one with performance clauses, whatever it is, we can all sit and speculate and argue over. Ultimately, he's a rookie on a short contract. Franco's sponsors alone can pay for that. The money they've just got from one of Franco's sponsors is enough to buy Jack Doohan out. Jack Doohan is not safe at all and needs some absolutely mega performances to make it work. With that in mind, I feel really sorry for Jack. A rookie starting under that sort of pressure isn't good. And for me personally, I want to see Jack do well, just to almost shove 2 fingers up to Alpine and kind of make it so they look like idiots to replace him. So I've got everything crossed for Jack Doohan and a start to it. And what he can do and bring to Alpine, because I think after fighting his way to get to Formula 1, he deserves the opportunity of that one. Lando and Oscar title hopes have been hyped up. We've seen the new McLaren, we've now seen the new Ferrari on track. Lots of sort of detailed analysis going on. We know that Ferrari's changed their front suspension. I'll wait until we see them in testing before I do anything in depth, because ultimately I'm not too sure what they're showing us and whether or not it's what they just want us to see, or whether or not they are all new, or whether or not they're trying bits out themselves. So I'm not too keen on doing detailed analysis on what we're seeing in shakedowns, because it's prone to change. And there's a lot of double bluffing going on with that, knowing that the social medias are going to post all the clips and stuff like that. So whilst I appreciate people doing lots of stuff on that, I've had a few people ask me for it. I'll hold my judgment to what we see in testing and then what we see actually on the cars for the opening round in Australia before I give you my view on what's changed on them. But there are some things that we do know, such as Ferrari changing the front suspension. There are some things we know that Haas have gone very much their own development way rather than taking Ferraris as well, which is going to be interesting to see. As for McLaren being title favourites, based obviously on the back of last year, teams could have made gains. It remains to be seen. Everyone's talking about Lando being the favourite. That will suit Oscar because I think that Oscar's got a great chance. And if he comes out of the season absolutely raring and takes the fight to Lando from the start, I think that McLaren may be forced into something they don't want to do. I think that Lando will always get favouritism because of his ties with McLaren and Zach, Lando's dad, and what he put into McLaren, etc., the long-term partnership they've had since obviously Lando's earlier days compared to Oscar. I think he will get that, but I think if Oscar is in the lead, I think with Mark Webber pulling the strings in the background, they will be forced to sort of prioritise Oscar a bit if he's got the jump on Lando, which is going to be really interesting to see if you're a McLaren fan. That's why I'm still not sure that McLaren can be double champions. I think Constructors is really good. I think they got a really strong partnership, but I think for the Drivers' Championship, it may open it up to a Ferrari driver, a Max, if the car's half decent with the Red Bull, either one of the McLaren drivers could get it. I think it might be open more because I think that these top teams who have got two good drivers are going to take points from each other, which I think could be great for the sport in terms of a championship battle. And even though it whilst mean one team might dominate the Constructors, I'm not too sure any team's got a good enough car advantage to be able to dominate both of them all season long, a bit like we saw a couple of years ago with Red Bull. And I think that's pretty much it. We've done 36 minutes of whistle-stop F1 talk. And like I say, a lot of news coming out this week has all been about Formula 175, so apologies if I've harped on too much about that. Genuinely would love to hear your thoughts on it. Genuinely would love to know if you thought it was a success or not. I definitely felt the atmosphere was good inside of the actual O2 Arena, apart from obviously the couple of booing, which I don't agree with. But it felt good. It felt good to see Formula 1 fans out. It felt good to see the O2 brought to life with all the activations, all of the merch, all of the partners events, all of the sponsorship. It felt like it was Formula 1 had arrived for the start of the season, which was good. And like I said, Formula 1 wanted an event where people talked about it. And ultimately, that's what's happened. This week, Formula 1 has burst back into life. People are talking about it. People are interacting on it. People are now back in terms of making videos and stuff. Whatever you may think, whether it was a success or a failure, ultimately, we're all sat here talking about Formula 175. And from a marketing point of view, that is a success. Now, before I go, let's talk Williams. Quick sip of the coffee, and I'll finish off with a one-off Williams offers brought to you from Coffee Corner Motorsport. So, I received a package today from Williams. So, this is packet fresh. It received this, it received the new cap, and also received a keyring, and also this, which is an exclusive offer. So obviously the new Atlassian Williams merch is now out, is now available on Williams, on their social media sites, on their app, on their website. You can go and order it now. So it is now available. And basically there is an exclusive offer if you buy before the 5th of March, 2025. So if you spend over $50 or £50 or €50, depending on where you are, you will receive a free Australia cap to mark the season kicking off down under. So what you got to do, go to WilliamsFormula1.com, buy your shopping as normal, spend over £50, €50, $50, whichever one's available to you on wherever you are. Go to checkout, and before you check out, enter the code Terry25. That's Terry, capital T, 25, TERRY 25 for all those who are listening, just in case someone wants to spell my name wrong. Enter that into the promo code part on the checkout, and your free gift for purchase will automatically be added to your cart. It's obviously limited to one cap, and it is while stocks last. So do get yourself over there pretty damn quick, because there are quite a few creators doing this as well. But yeah, you can get a free cap basically by ordering anything from the Williams shop and spending over £50, €50 or $50. So that's pretty cool to be able to bring in that one. So head on over there. Get your shopping from WilliamsFormula1.com, spend over £50, $50, €50, enter Terry25 into the promo code part. It will add a free Australian cap in, providing there's still stock there. Before, of course, the 5th of March, you've got to make that order. And when it comes, you will get a free cap. Happy days. That is absolutely fantastic news to finish the podcast off. So, once again, sorry for taking up too much of your time. Like I said, keep an eye out for that special one-off podcast with a bit more about the history of Coffee Corner and a bit about how it came about, why I do Formula 1 with my dad. It's a very special year for my dad this year. He celebrates a big birthday. I'm not going to tell you what birthday because that would be wrong of me, but he celebrates a big birthday this year. And I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not. I don't think he does. I don't think my dad's realised that I do podcasts too much yet. So I think I'm safe. But I am trying to plan something for him for his birthday this year. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that one. I want to do something for him. I really want to, do something special for him. It's great that I get to do so much stuff with him. Great that I share so much stuff with him. And there is a reason behind why we do that. And not just the sort of father-son thing. There's a real personal reason to why we do it, which I'm quite keen to share with people. And just, like I say, give people a bit of an insight into how Coffee Corner Motorsport was born. And maybe inspire a few people as well. So watch out for that one. I'll be back next week, of course, with Formula One Espresso news. You can also catch up with me on all of my social media channels at Coffee Corner Motorsport across every single channel. I have got my website up and running now, which is www.coffeecornermotorsport.com. That's got all of my social media stuff. It's got all the links to the podcast. It's also got all of the written articles that I do as well. So there's a blog on there with new articles on there, and there's also a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page where all the articles are also housed on there. I will, of course, be back with Fantasy Formula over on FanAmp as well, so it is really busy. We're definitely back in Formula 1 season. That break's now long and gone. It's now in a distance. There is a huge amount going on, so make sure you're also following on FanAmp for all of the latest of what's going on there, and of course the launch of Fantasy Formula when that one lands as well. I'll be back. I'll be doing my Tuesday Night Lives on TikTok, and I'll be back on the podcast next week as well. That is a whistle stop, 40 minutes of F1 75. A huge thank you for listening. Many thanks to the comments people have been saying about having a weekly podcast and that you enjoy the news broken down and in a quick weekly show. I've enjoyed bringing it. I think this is episode 5 or 6 now. I keep forgetting which one. But I'm really enjoying doing it. I really appreciate the comments, the messages people have put, people who are enjoying it, the engagements we've got on it. Whilst there's a demand for it, I'll keep doing it. And with all that in mind, you've been listening to F1 Espresso News with me, Terry, and this is Coffee Corner Motorsport, Full Wings Podcast. See you next week.